Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about ICP because we've seen some pretty interesting developments with ICP, and we might be getting to the very end of what we could see as like a larger consolidationary period. And so I wanted to look at the chart, kind of show you guys a little bit of that, but then we've also seen a couple things developing in the news recently that I think are massively bullish for ICP, so we're going to get into that as well. So anyway, starting out, let's take a look at crypto bubbles though, because we can kind of see overall in the market, it is a down day. We are seeing a pretty decent bit of mix within the market here though. I mean, obviously some negatives, some positives overall, but this is kind of what we've been expecting. Lots of volatility, lots of ups, lots of downs, but obviously everything, far more up than down, as we can see. Even the past week, still very green overall, and then the month, kind of even more green than that. So things looking good kind of overall, but what we can see on the ICP price chart is that it's been relatively kind of boring, right? I mean, we could see that obviously a decent pump up after kind of the election news, a little bit of a pullback, and then kind of another bounce again. What we can see is I have drawn kind of a couple of different lines here to go over some different like options that we could be seeing here. So as we can see, we've kind of been bouncing kind of in this like channel that has been kind of squeezing a little bit, but it's more of a channel rather than like a wedge at this point. If it is a wedge, I mean, it's a super long wedge. But what we can see is, we did kind of enter into this kind of about the end of June and have kind of been here ever since. So there's kind of one of two things that could play out here. First one, we kind of continue in through this wedge and we kind of continue to just bounce around, increasingly kind of consolidating and squeezing tighter and tighter until we get to at some point at where we break up or down. At this point, it's looking very likely that it would be a break up, but no guarantees either way. The second option is we have started to form a little bit of a trend line here from recent price action, and I think this is probably more indicative of the market that we're in now, where they're kind of being a general uptrend in the market. Obviously, that can always change, but so far at least that kind of looks like what we're seeing. If this is kind of how things end up playing out, we kind of get to the end of the wedge here, the beginning of December at the very latest. And so, I mean, we're probably looking at 10 days or less until we see some sort of move happening. If we are kind of sitting within this wedge, we are seeing, higher highs, higher lows still being made. So this uptrend is holding. So overall, things looking pretty good. On the RSI, we are looking kind of pretty average overall, not too high, not too low. Things overall kind of looking decent-ish there. Now, next thing I want to take a look at also is the Bollinger Bands. Now, so we could see there was a pretty tight squeeze here at the end of October. Things have opened up a little bit as we've seen this extra volatility. And, we are kind of towards the upper band of the Bollinger Band that we are seeing here. And so, the kind of the midpoint is starting to kind of mirror this trend line that we've seen coming upward. And so, even if we do pull back, maybe bounce off of this one more time. As we can see though, this $10 range is giving us quite a bit of resistance here. We can see, we wicked up, not quite to it, about 970 here. We made a wick up past $10 and then came back down, and then we've made another wick up again to like the 970, 980 range, and then have come back down again as well. We also kind of saw something similar here where we, just barely broke over 10 and then came right back down. So this $10 range is definitely quite the like psychological barrier that we are having to deal with currently. I do think once we break through that, we probably should see a pretty decent move to the upside, because if we start to look back earlier on in the year, we can see, again, same type of thing. We saw a little bit of psychological resistance at this $10 range right here before we did continue our next move up. Once we did move up, I mean, this $10 range served as kind of a level of support after that. And so, we were able to kind of move all the way up to the $20 range before we eventually broke it here, here in about mid-June, where we kind of come back down. Since we did find a little bit of a pump over, but then again, it came back down. So this $10 mark is really quite the psychological barrier. So again, if we do break it, we can see historically that once we do break it, it's going to be a little difficult to break, but once we do, it will turn into a fairly strong support, which should be, really good news for all of us. Now, looking a little bit closer, what we can see is we're seeing a move up in volume. This is what I look at very frequently, because volume does really help in terms of like the magnitude of these price movements. And so the fact that we are seeing such a strong move to the upside in volume is really good. We would want to continue to see either sustained or continued growing volume, just because that's always like a good sign of the health of the ecosystem. Now, if you're interested in trading ICP or anything else, whether just spot, leverage, anything like that, you can do so here on BTCC. I have partnered with them for the month. They've got a really great offer for you guys. You can trade up to 50x leverage if you want. You can also do various other things like tokenized stocks you're seeing here at the end. where you can actually trade those on leverage as well, which is kind of funny. You can also short things if you're seeing like, you know, meme coins running up and you think things are getting overblown, or maybe the whole market has gotten too hot. You can always short things and kind of bet on them moving down. In an uptrend like this, I would say, you know, maybe not always the best idea, but if you do have strong conviction that we might see a pullback, that could be, you know, an idea for you. As we could see, a 10% bonus on first time deposits, which this is a really, really outstanding deal. And so if you, let's say, deposit $10,000, you would get $1,000 essentially to use and do whatever you like with. You also have, in addition to this 10% bonus, bonuses up to $10,055 per user, which again, another really, really great deal. You also can do up to 500x leverage. I personally don't ever use leverage that high, but if you do like to use leverage that high, you can do up to 500x leverage, as well as no VPN or KYC necessary. So honestly, a really, really good deal overall. If this is something you are interested in checking out, just feel free to use my link in the description below, and then you can go and get that 10% bonus on your deposits. So moving on, there's a couple other things I want to check out, because there's two big things that have kind of happened recently in the ICP ecosystem. The first one is we actually now have another Bitcoin layer 2, Bitfinity, is also using ICP. I've talked about TAP protocol on the channel before. They have already been using ICP. The TAP protocol is actually starting to make some waves in terms of all the things that it can do and the fact that it's built on Bitcoin natively, a lot of this type of stuff. So there is a lot of like really interesting things going on within the ICP ecosystem, as far as particularly reaching out to like Bitcoin layer 2s and trying to onboard people within the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think this is an amazing move, because obviously there's always a lot of eyes on Bitcoin, and particularly the recent development on Bitcoin regarding, you know, ordinals and inscriptions and all this other type of stuff, layer 2s. This is all going to essentially draw eyes to Bitcoin or to ICP, excuse me, more generally, which I think is a really good thing. The other thing that we are also seeing is Dominic has posted kind of a cheeky tweet here, which is kind of funny, but Sui has kind of had the revelation that reverse gas fees is kind of maybe an interesting model to pursue. And ICP's already been doing this for, you know, 3, almost 4 years at this point. So this is another thing just to show, like, we are seeing that ICP kind of really is leading the market here, and a lot of these people are kind of imitating ICP. Now, the only thing that we have to figure out here, the only thing we need to kind of to ponder is, being the market leader is obviously amazing, right? And the tech speaks for itself. I don't think anybody would necessarily dispute that, but obviously Sui's doing really quite well, and they're the one, like, it almost turns into like does ICP become like a Cosmos? You know, like what Cosmos is to Ethereum, does ICP become to maybe Sui potentially, right? And so this is why I've always pushed marketing as being so important and so vital, is because yes, they do have the technical advantage, but if some project like Sui, for example, can come in and essentially just rip ICP's ideas, but nobody really realizes because nobody knows about ICP, then Sui almost kind of by default becomes like they're the one that did it, right? Which is obviously not at all true, but that's kind of, I think, the way that a lot of people would look at it, and it's like the winner writes history in a sense, right? And so I think that's kind of a little bit of what we could potentially be seeing here if this is to go successfully for Sui. And so this is why, you know, I continue to make ICP videos. I continue to try and, you know, preach the values of ICP, and hopefully, you know, if you guys find this information useful, please do like and subscribe to help me kind of get pushed further out into the YouTube algorithm, because that's mainly how a lot of the ICP marketing is being done currently. ICP really isn't leading too much of an effort so far. I do think we'll probably see that change, if I had to guess, here relatively soon, but we do need to essentially kind of push all of the like stuff that ICP can do to the wider market, because so much of these new innovations, like we just saw with the Sui tweet, is happening because people just aren't aware. At least that's my opinion. And so anyway, if you did find the information in this video useful, like I just said, please do give me a like and subscribe, because it really does help me out quite a lot. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, please just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So that would be the best way to reach me. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.